Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Career Launcher. And my name is Naveen. Today, we'll be looking at LRDI Basics 19 from this series. And today, we'll start with DI. So, this session onwards, we'll be looking at DIs as requested by you. Okay. So, this is the first set. The scatter chart given below shows the ratio of exports to imports in terms of worth of two companies, P and Q, over 6 years, 2015 to 2020. So that's something you can see at the bottom in the x-axis. Company P is shown in blue and company Q is shown in orange. So the blue, these. So if I join them, it looks like a line diagram. Okay. So the difference between a scatter diagram or line diagram and a bar graph is simply that there is a point, then there is a line, and then there are vertical lines. That's the only difference. So if I join the top to the bottom, these all will become bar graphs. So if I give a little bit of width to these vertical lines, they will look like bar graphs. Okay. So do not treat scatter diagram as something new. It's just the tip of the bar graphs that are just drawn with no joining, no connections between them. Okay. So let's look at the questions, whatever they are going to ask. But before that, let's pick any random value. Let's pick up 2070. This is company P, right? Exports to imports, that is E by I, is for company P. Okay, for company P. This is given as 1.25. 1.25 in terms of fraction is 5 upon 4. Right? So that means exports is 5 units, imports is 4 units. Since it's talking about in terms of worth, so we're talking about 5 rupees and 4 rupees or 5 lakh crores, 4 lakh crores. We have no idea about the units, but this is how they are related. Okay. If you talk about company Q here, which is shown in orange for the same year, 2017, the export to import ratio is given as 1. So which means they both are same. Okay. So I hope you know that whenever the export is greater than import, we call it deficit. And whenever the import is greater than export, we call it surplus, right? So here export is more. So we are talking about deficit. Here we have no deficit, no surplus. Okay. If you need a surplus, the export to import ratio should be less than 1. So that export is lesser, numerator is less. So less than 1 means we are talking about these values where we will be getting surplus. These are the 3 values where there is no surplus, no deficit, while these are the 5 values where we call it as deficit. Okay. So depending upon what is going to be asked, right now, these are the general terms that should come to your mind while you're looking at this particular problem or, problems containing these terms. So the first question, in how many of the given years were the imports more than exports of the company Q? So if I pick up company Q, the ratio given to us is exports to imports. And if we need imports more than exports, that is denominator is going to be greater than numerator, right? So this value should be less than 1. And we are talking about company Q. Company Q as in we're talking about orange. So the orange ones less than 1 is going to be only here, right? This is the only place where it happens. So it's going to be option. Okay. In each year, the difference between the amount of imports and exports of company Q, the maximum. Okay. We are asked about the actual magnitude. Okay. So if I say that ratio of export and import is, let's say, if I pick this as 2 and export upon import is, let's say, 1.5. So we know the ratio, right? We do not know the actual difference. For example, 50 out of 100 is also 1 by 2, while 500 out of 1000 is also 1 by 2, But if I talk about the difference between these two numbers, that's 50. But in this example, it's 500. So even though the ratio is same, the difference may be something different, right? So that's the reason that since we know the ratios, we cannot actually find the magnitude of it. So the answer is going to be cannot be determined. Ratio never tells us what the actual magnitudes are. If we know the actual magnitudes, we can calculate the ratio and difference, all of that. Third, if the exports of company P in 2016 were 210 crores, we are talking about 2016. One second. 2016, company P, this is given as 210 crores. This is the export value here. So what is the import value we are going to have? Well, basically, the company P in 2016, the ratio of export upon import is given as 1.75. Now, 1.75 is 1 plus 0.75, which is 1, 3 by 4, which is going to be nothing but 4 plus 3, 7 upon 4. And this is where export is given as 210. So what should be our import? We are basically saying 7 by 4 is equal to 210 upon what? So the relationship we have over here is 7 into 3 is 21. So 7 into 30 will be 210, right? So we should have the same multiplier for 4 as well. So 4 into 30 is what we should have here, right? 4 into 30 is 120. So D becomes the answer. Okay, 4. If the imports of company Q in 2020 were increased by 25%, so we are looking at 2020, we are looking at this particular year, and whatever was the import here, let's call it as I, it was increased by 25%, which means if you write this as 1.25, then what would be the ratio of exports to the increased imports? So we are looking at company Q, which is going to be our orange, right? So let's pick that. So 1.75 is what the ratio right now is, which is going to be 7 by 4. We just saw in the previous question, right? Previous question was, okay, P, but it was the same value. So 7 by 4. And it is given that, there is no change in export. It's not mentioned. So it stays 7. And this 4 should increase by 25%, which means it can become 1.25 times. So either increase 4 by 25% or multiply 4 with 1.25. Both in these cases, we are going to have 5 here. So the new ratio of export upon new import is going to be 7 upon 5, right? B option. Okay. So what I will do is I'll give you guys a few minutes, a couple of minutes. Go ahead, solve this. Give it a try. I'll wait for at least one of you to actually answer this. Then we will start with the next set. Anyone? Still waiting? No. Sure. In 2015, so we are looking at the year 2015, the exports of company P, so company P as in the blue one, right? So we are looking at 2015, the export of company P were 5 by 3 times that of company Q. So that means for company Q, if we take that as 3, for company P, it's going to be 5. If the imports of company P during the year were of rupees 150 crores, so if we talk about import for company P, if this was 150 crores, then what is the approximate amount of imports of company Q? So we need to find out the value of X. Okay. So right now we have 2015 that we need to take care of. So if we look at the export to import of company P, it's 1.5. 1.5 means we are talking about 5 upon 150, right? For company P. For company Q, that's the orange one, that is 0.75, and that is given as 3 upon X. Okay. So from here, if you cross multiply, we can write this as 1.5 times 150 is equal to 5. And please, this is company P, this is company Q we are dealing with. And here we can write this as 0.75 into X is equal to 3. Now we are given that the export ratio is 5:3 here, which means we are saying that 1.5 into 150 upon 0.75 into X, this is 5:3. Okay, so I don't want to convert 5 into something so that it makes 1.5. Right now, if you look at this, this is not 1.5. It will be 1.5 when I multiply 5 with something. So I don't want to multiply 5 with something because 3 is supposed to be multiplied by the same number. It will be a wastage because we are going to multiply now. And abhi fir divide ho jayega. So let's not multiply at all. Okay. So from here, what we can see is 0.75 twice is this, and 5's 30 times is this. So if we cross multiply, we will have X is equal to 3 into 2 into 30, which is going to be 180, right? So the first option. I should write down the option numbers. So option A basically. Right? Okay, next set. XYZ showroom sold certain number of cars of 5 companies, Maruti, Volkswagen, Honda, Hyundai, and Chevrolet. Okay, it's not Maruti, it's Maruti. In the years 2018 and 19. So that's what we are given, 2018 and 2019. The first and the second pie chart show the percentage distribution of the number of cars sold in 2018 and 2019 respectively. So the blue one is Maruti, orange is Volkswagen, Honda is gray one, Hyundai is yellow one, and the navy blue is Chevrolet. So here, first thing is the total should be 100%, out of which if we calculate this, this is 90%. So this is supposed to be 10%. Same for 2019, the overall should be 100. If you calculate this, this is going to be 50 and 78. So this is going to be 22%. Fine. So let's look at the questions now. So the first question asks, if the total sales of cars in the showroom increased by 25% in 2019 compared to 2018, then the ratio of cars sold in 2018 and 2019 is greater than 3 is to 5. 3 is to 4 is greater than 3 is to 5. Obviously, 3 is to 5 is 0.6, right? 3 by 5. And 3 by 4 is 0.75, which obviously makes sense. 0.75 is greater than 0.6. For how many companies? So what we are going to do is, since the base is not given, as in the overall value of pi is not given, so we will consider some number for 2018 and we will increase it by 25%. Well, 25% is nothing but 5 by 4, not 25%. Increase by 25% is 5 by 4. So what I will do is I'll take 400 for this and I'll take 500 for this. And please do remember, this is 22% and this was 10%. Right? So if I pick up Maruti, and if I want to calculate how many cars were there in 2018, so I will be doing 20% of 400, or I will simply be doing 20 into 4, because percentage and the 2 zeros of the base will cancel out. And if I talk about 2019, it's going to be 15% of 500, or simply 15 into 5. Right? So if we take the, we are asked the ratio, right? So if we solve this, we are going to have 5, 4. So this is going to be 16 is to 15, right? Now 3 is to 5 is basically 0.6. This is definitely more than 0.6. So we do have Maruti. जिसके लिए काम करेगा. Now, once we know what kind of calculation we are doing here, we can quickly do the same calculation for others, right? We do not need the explanation again. So if we look at Volkswagen, what you will see is that there is some decrease here. Percentage 25% becomes 20%. So percentage share decreases, but the overall value increases. So we need to see how much change that is going to give us. So it's going to be 25 into 4 is to 20 into 5, which is 100 each. So this is basically 1 is to 1, which is again more than 0.6, right? Let's look at Honda. In 2018, this is 15 into 4, and in 2019, this is going to be 22 into 5, which is going to give us 60 is to 110, or 6 is to 11. Now 6 is to 11 is 0.5 something, right? Because 6 upon 12 is exactly 0.5. 6 upon 11 will be a little more than 0.5, right? But less than 0.6. So this is less than 0.6. So this should not be accounted for. If we look at Hyundai, so it was 30 into 4, and now it's 28 into 5. So this is 120, and the next one is 140. 120 and 140 is 12, 14, which is 6 and 7, which is very, very close to 1. Not very close as in 0.9 types, but definitely more than 0.6. And if you look at Charolais, so it was 10% of 400, which is 10 into 4, and then it was 15 into 500, which is 15 into 5. 15% of 500, which is 15 into 5. So this is basically 40 and 75. They both are divisible by 5. So it's going to be 8 is to 15, which is going to be definitely not 60%, right? Because 60% of 15 is 9. So definitely less than 0.6. So for how many of these cars, the ratio of cars sold in 2018 and 19 is greater than 3 is to 5. So it's Maruti, Volkswagen, and Hyundai. So 3 of them, right? Okay. The next one, if the total sales of cars in the showroom 2018 was 25% less than that in 2019, so 25% less is 3 by 4. So in 2019 we have 4, in 2018 we have 3. So this is basically saying there were 400 cars and this is 300 cars. Okay, you can assume base to be 4x and 3x also. Won't change your answer, whatever is asked, because it's theta. So you will definitely be getting some definite answer. And the total sales of the showroom in the car 2019 was 120,000, right? So this was 22% and this is 10%. Yeah, hमें पता है. Then what is the difference in the sales of Hyundai cars between 2018 and 2019? So basically what we see is this multiplier, the base that we see is multiplying it with 300, right? 400 into 300 is going to give us 120,000. So we are basically going to multiply this with 300 as well. And this is going to give us 9 followed by 4 zeros, which is 90,000. Or if it was 1,20,000, if you decrease it by 25%, wo bhi chalega. You will save some time there though. What is the difference in the sales of Hyundai cars? So if you look at Hyundai cars, which is the yellow one, so it is going to be 30% of 90,000. And it's 28% of 120,000. And we need to take the difference. Okay. So the first thing first, we will get rid of the percentage and we will get rid of the 2 zeros we are going to have. Then we will take out the common numbers, right? So we have 2 zeros here, we have 2 zeros here, or you can calculate directly. It's not a complicated one. 9 into 3 is 27 followed by 3 zeros. And then we have a minus. Excuse me. Then we have 28 into 12 and then followed by 2 zeros. Now 28 into 12, if you want to calculate. So how do you not use calculator in your DIs? So 28 can be written as 20 plus 8 and 12 can be written as 20 minus 8. Okay, this is one way. Some people will prefer doing this. Okay, since we do not have options, so we need the exact value, right? So this is basically saying 400 minus 64, which is going to give us 336 here. So 33,600 minus 27,000, which is going to be 6,600. So we will have to put in that theta question. So 6,600. Okay, next one. If the total sales of the company in the year 2018 and 2019 is 5:8. So basically we are saying if total cars sold were 500 and 800 here. Then for how many models growth in the year 2019 with respect to the previous year is less than 45%. So growth being less than 45% is another way of saying that 2019s upon 2018s for a particular car X should be 1.45 se kam. Growth is 45%, which means 1.45 times, right? So we will have to do it one by one. This is 10%, this is 22%. We will pick Maruti. So 2019, this is 15 into 8. This is 15 into 8. So which is going to be 120. And in 2018, it is 20 into 5, which is 100, which is 1.2. Definitely the growth is less than 45%. Next, if we look at Volkswagen, it is 20 into 8, which is 160. And this is 25 into 5, which is 125. So We can get rid of 5 from here. So this is 32 out of 25, which is, if I, multiply it with 4 now. So this is going to be 128 upon 100, which is 1.28, which is again less than 1.45. Okay, if you look at Hondia, this is 22 into 8, which is 176. And this is 15 into 5, which is 75, which is definitely greater than 2. So not included. If you look at Hyundai, it's 28 into 8, which is going to be 224. 160 plus 64, right? So 224. And for 2018, this is 30 into 5, which is 150. Okay. So if you divide it by 1.5, which is going to be difficult. This is 175 upon 100. So what I did actually was 224 upon 150. I've written this approximately as 225 upon 150. Now 225 is 150 ka 1.5 times. And 150 is 100 ka 1.5 times. Sorry. So this is basically 150 upon 100, which is 1.5. So should not be included. Okay. Now, if we look at last one, which is Charolais. So it is 15 into 8, which is 120. And this is 10 into 5, which is 50, which is going to be greater than 2. So should not be included. So out of the total cars that have been sold, there are only 2 cars, Maruti and Volkswagen, where the growth in 2019 with respect to 2018 is less than 45%. So 2 such cars, right? Okay. So in case if you have any queries, feel free to ask a question in the chat, in the comment. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Please make sure that you subscribe if you haven't, and like the video and share with your friends. Until next session, take care. Have a nice day.